Good afternoon, and today we are talking about the 6 silent killers of for service-based businesses. So, what are we talking about here? It is all about risk management. So, first of all, you've got to make sure that you have identified these risks and make sure that they are documented clearly. So here are just some of the risks that we are certainly aware of that you need to make sure that you have policies in place to help mitigate. First thing is client dissatisfaction. Second is data breaches and cybersecurity threats. This is a big one, particularly in recent times. The third is ensuring regulatory compliance. The fourth is cash flow volatility. Next is talent retention and acquisition. And finally, reputational damage. So what you need to make sure that you put into place is a risk management plan. So what you need to do is when you are identifying these risks, you need to make sure that in terms of each particular risk, you first of all need to establish whether there are a risk that could be avoided entirely. And, you literally may need to be a case of you limit any high risk activities altogether. Another is potential risk reduction. So you implement measures to minimize the likelihood of the impact of those risks. Another is potentially risk transfer. This is where you transfer some of the risk to third parties, such as insurance policies or contractual agreements, etc. And the final is where it's risk acceptance. So this is where you have some low impact risk, and it's actually more cost effective to accept that the cost of doing business with that risk as long as you are mitigating it, right? So what are the ways in which you can potentially ensure you have the right strategies in place to mitigate these risks? First thing is client satisfaction. So develop a robust process so that you ensure that you have got a consistent service delivery, making sure that you're getting regular client feedback, you're doing internal audits, and just ultimately ensure that you maintain high standards and prevent that dissatisfaction. Client communication. Clear, frequent communication can be one of those things that prevents misunderstandings and also manages expectations. So add in a system where you are providing regular updates to your clients. Cybersecurity. Invest in strong cybersecurity measures to ensure that you are protecting your clients' data. Regular security audits and staff training are crucial in this now digital age. Next, financial management. So this is something that I talk about frequently. It's all a big part of the Business Fix toolkit. So you need to maintain a healthy cash reserve. Make sure that you diversify your client base, so you don't just have one or two main clients that are the key source of your income. You want to spread that risk over a number of different clients. Also, reduce your financial vulnerabilities. Make sure that you're only paying out for what's absolutely necessary. Consider things like retainer-based services for a more stable cash flow. Talent management. So make sure that you create with your staff a positive work culture and offer competitive benefits so that you retain that top talent. Make sure that you're also in a situation where management they are not micromanaging the team, that they are leading the team. This is a really important part, because ultimately a big reason why staff actually tend to leave a job is not necessarily because they don't want to be working for that particular business. It's because of the management structure or the management team that is causing them stress. So the next thing is compliance. So stay informed about the industry regulations and maintain those strict compliance. Consider engaging potential lawyers, accountants, etc., HR, who can make sure that you are remaining compliant, particularly given the fact that the regulatory side of things, particularly, for example, law firms, accountants, etc. It's a pretty complex landscape these days. Next thing is reputation management. So this is where, particularly online now, most businesses, if they're not online, they certainly should be, because ultimately that is one of the main now sources of new leads, is you need to make sure that you are managing your online reputation. So managing your online presence, responding promptly to any client feedback, whether that's positive, negative, and also develop a crisis communication plan to actually address potential reputational threats. This is where it all really ties into your risk management policy and how you deal with particular risks. And ultimately, bear in mind, risk management isn't a case of a one-off thing. This is something that needs continuous improvement. It needs to be continuously monitored. And you need to be aware, because in my view, there is a lot more risk to business than there ever has been, particularly given that we are in a digital age. So where it's possible, eliminate what risks you can. Make sure that you have effective risk management, and make sure that you are proactively identifying, assessing, and addressing any potential threats. Ultimately, that will lead to you being a much more resilient business. So one of the ways in which you can help to risk manage, particularly in relation to things like compliance and cyber protection, in the sense of explaining to your clients how you are using their data in terms of client communication and client satisfaction. The key way in which you can even cover all of these things, or one way of partially covering these things, is making sure that you have a solid terms and conditions that you are issuing at the beginning of dealing with any new client, because ultimately that then ensures that you are making it clear what each party's obligations are, what the payment terms are, exactly what services you are providing, amongst other things, in terms of how you deal with their data, in terms of confidentiality, intellectual property. It's a really, really important risk management document. Now, what we are offering for a limited time only is our free terms and conditions template. Now, this is a document that is worth over £1,000. It's been drafted by a former lawyer, and ultimately, if you had gone to a lawyer for this document, it would cost you over £1,000. It is a document you can literally action in your business immediately. Doesn't need to be amended. There is a schedule that is attached to it, which is the document you would amend, that you make it specific to each individual client that you are working with. So that's where you set out the details of the exact service you're providing, the pricing, any term. So if is it a 12-month contract, etc. You put that in the schedule, which then gets attached to the main terms and conditions document. So if you would like access to this free terms and conditions template, then make sure that you just put in the comment terms, and I will give you access. So hopefully you have found today's session useful. Be aware of risk management. What can you do in your business to mitigate those risks? What have you already got in place? Have you got a risk management policy? If you don't, then make sure you reach out and we can help you get that into place. Thanks for listening, and I will see you all next week.